with a teacher from a local music school. And from the very first lesson, it was about reading, transposing, very important, and just playing through all the books, Marcel Mule, Pascal Bonnat, all the classical books. Never really talked to me about sound. I had a Embouchure. My first one was a Embouchure with a normal mouthpiece. Hello. How you doing? And he never really said anything about producing sound. And when I was about 16 or 17 years old, I decided it was time for me to go up a level, if I could. And I took the phone book. They say Yellow Pages, doesn't exist anymore, computer. The Yellow Pages said Saxophone Instruction. And there were 3 or 4 names. And I called them up. One guy's name was Marty Napoleon, like Napoleon. Another guy's name was, who's on a Coltrane record, live at the Village Vanguard, his name is Garvin Bouchel. He was, on the Coltrane record, he plays the bassoon, he was a teacher. And the other guy's name was Joe Allard, A-L-L-A-R-D. And Mr. Allard, when I spoke to him, seemed to be a very, very nice man. And the price was reasonable, $25 at that time for a lesson, which is maybe like $75 now for 50 minutes. What impressed me most about Joe Allard was that he taught in the Carnegie Hall building. So I said, this has to be a high-class guy if he's in the Carnegie Hall building. Because remember, I'm only 16 years old, and I know if you have something to do with Carnegie Hall, it must be good. It doesn't mean anything, but that was what I thought. Anyway, when I walked into Joe Allard, at that time playing clarinet and flute and tenor by then, he had me play on a clarinet. Anybody know the book, the Rose Studies? Rose books. And I played the first line clarinet. I played the first line and he stopped me. And I never got past that first line for 6 months. I went to him every Sunday from Brooklyn, took the subway, would go there, on Saturdays in this case, Saturdays, from Brooklyn. And he was a guy who had books of, anatomy, throat showing. There's one very famous book, of course again now with the computer it's not the same, but when there was no pictures, the book that was very famous was called Gray's Book Anatomy. And this guy Gray in the 1600s or something, he drew all the shit, heart, the gloves, he made drawings. So this was a classic book for anatomy. And Joe would have this book on the page about the throat. I say throat, but don't dare say throat, but that's what I said. And he would talk to me about the mechanism of what is really going on when you blow. What is happening in here, what's happening in here, and of course what's happening here. And for 6 months, I did not get past his first 4 bars. And he gave me what I want to show you, some of the Overtone Series exercises, which you should know, I'm sure. And I thought that this guy was supposed to be so famous because by now when I said Joe Allard, they said, oh, it's the maestro, blah, blah, blah. He studied with Marcel Mule at the Paris Conservatory, and Coltrane took lessons from him, and of course I'm a little older than Steve Grossman, Michael Brecker, that came later. But he was very famous, and I was saying, but he doesn't show me anything. What's this thing about sound, about overtones? I didn't understand what he was showing me. Now I'll tell you one thing about teachers that you should understand, I'm sure you do. When a teacher really is going to be effective, you're probably not going to get it for a while. Now I don't know if you've ever studied something like martial arts, boxing, or some kind of Zen, serious shit, not how to make a chair, but serious stuff. When you go with a master, the master talks to you and you have no idea what they're talking about. And you say, I'm not sure what you mean. They say, you will. You will. And Joe was very nice, very cool. He was very relaxed. He was also classical. He was in those days television had live music, live orchestras on television. And the conductor of the NBC, that was the big station in New York, was Arturo Toscanini. Now you know who he was. He was one of the great conductors of the 20th century. Toscanini was the conductor of the New York Symphony, New York Philharmonic. But when he finished his job there for about 10 years, he wanted to return to Italy and grow wine and And New York City did not want to lose Toscanini. So they made the NBC orchestra so that they could keep him in New York. Now Toscanini was a really, he could hear like 5 streets away if you were at it to him. Third clarinet, F sharp, excuse me, that's not right. He had ears, best ears of all time, they say. Joe was first clarinet, Joe Allen, in the orchestra. So he was obviously could play that. He had played with Red Nichols, and I remember when I went to one lesson with Joe, in the corner on the music stand was Giant Step Solo. This is 1963. Giant Steps is only 3 years old at that time. And I knew, Giants, what it was. I couldn't play it, but I knew what it was. And I said, Joe, that's John Coltrane song, but what are you doing? He said, oh, Mr. Coltrane, he came for some lessons a few years ago, and somebody came to me and said that he would like me to have this music, and somebody had written a solo out. Now, in those days, transcribing was not as common as it is now. And I said, that's a very difficult piece. He said, oh, I find it very interesting, very interesting. The fingerings and everything. I'm studying it, I'm putting it on alto also, So here was a teacher that understood jazz and classical at the same time. Now, I don't know how the situation here in your city is, conservatories, or if some of you are teachers in classical and so forth, but in the old days, there was a big division between the classical saxophone and the jazz saxophone. There was always this little, rivalry and conflict, because we definitely, in jazz, we have a different way of looking at technique. There's no question about it. We have different equipment, mouthpiece is different, sound, the idea of what we do is different, and that's great. And it's all great, it's all the same. And as I was just talking to Miguel, he studied classical and jazz, and that's what you do now. But in the 60s and the 70s, even into the 80s, classical guys, they didn't want you to play their music. And jazz guys were saying, well, we play everything, I don't know what the problem is. Because jazz people are very open, that's what we do. But Joe was unusual because he appreciated jazz, and he encouraged you to do it, yet he was a classical trained musician. So he was coming from playing the instrument absolutely correctly. Now, what do I mean by that? The saxophone is the easiest instrument of all instruments. Would you agree with me, those of you who play any other instruments? Can you compare the saxophone to the violin? I don't think so. To the trombone, which doesn't have any place to go. The trumpet, which is a killer on your lips. The bass. Okay, guitar, maybe. Piano. I mean, the saxophone has the same fingering for 70 to 80% of the notes. Basically, all you gotta do is get this thing to go like this, which it will if you blow into it. And c'est la vie. And this is why I think the saxophone was so important for jazz, the history of the saxophone. Coleman Hawkins, Leslie Young, Charlie Parker, Coltrane. Let's just say like that, right there. As far as the saxophone producing the music, the forward evolution of the music, bird, train, it's because the saxophone is an easy instrument to play and can be easily fit to your anatomy. What do I mean by that? I mean, I don't care who you are, if you put this in your mouth and you just blow, you're going to get a sound. And if you stay with that sound, you probably end up with your sound. Now, what does your sound mean? It means that I can tell the difference between Dexter Gordon and Joe Henderson on 3 notes. But I can tell the difference between you and you, if I know you, between how you talk, because it's your voice. The saxophone is very easily adaptable to taking the human voice and portraying it through the horn. And this is very good. On the other hand, when you play an instrument, the goal of any instrumentalist is to make the instrument absolutely at one with the body. I don't want to have to think about fingerings. I don't want to have to think about embouchure. I don't want to think about the larynx. I don't want to think about the position of my fingers when I'm playing, and especially when you're playing jazz. Because with jazz, we don't know what's coming next. When I'm improvising, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I go in there and I follow the path. Classical music is different. I know The more I practice it, the more I know, oh, pianissimo, attack, staccato, I know what's next, I'm ready. With jazz, we have to be ready for anything. So that means that you have to have a very flexible attitude towards playing, and you want this to be as easy as possible. Joe's thing was this, he said, when you come in, I see you play, he told me, and everybody that comes to see me, 99% of the musicians are working too hard. They're stressing. They're unnecessary physical maneuvering, which takes away from their playing music. You can't think about music if you have to think about what's happening in your body. It's the same as, look, think about this. When you first took the first lesson on the saxophone, and whoever showed you, or if you found out, here's a C, here's a D, here's an E, and blah, blah, blah. And the first couple of weeks you had to say 6 fingers is a D, this is a C, and then maybe after 2 months or 3 months you could play a C major scale and you didn't have to think about it. Everybody remember the beginning? That's the beginning for everybody. So from the beginning of having to think about it to not having to think, that's giant steps. From C to giant steps, let's say for now. So Joe's thing was, you must play this instrument in the most natural way possible with the least amount of effort. So, could be loud in here, I think. Get ready. So if I'm playing, I'll walk around a little bit. Watch me as I play. Don't listen to what I play because you don't know what I'm playing. Just watch me what I'm doing here. What does it look like here? Who speaks English?
Seems quite still.
See, does it look still to you?
I saw your chin moving in and out.
I'm moving a lot.
I'm
moving a lot. Don't worry about this. I'm moving here. This has nothing to do with music. This. Here. Now watch me now. Watch me now. You see any movement?
Yeah, your throat.
Only.
Mostly.
A little bit the lip, which we'll talk about. Now, what's the difference between the first way I played and the second way I played? Sound, playing the same stuff. It's the effort involved between number 1 and number 2. I'm doing all kinds of things because I'm thinking, oh, I gotta put my lip up, I gotta loosen my lip, I have to tighten to go play high, I have to drop down, play low, all kinds of bullshit that takes away from the music. So when I came into Joe, and this was clarinet the same, but much more saxophone, he said, you're working too hard. It's a basic extension of the vocal cords, just like when you sing and when you speak. And this is what took 10 years for me to realize what he was talking about. And that's the prelude to our discussion. All right, everything clear so far? Okay, now, let's watch one thing here. If I had a board, I'd be able to draw it. But think about this. We have several, playing this instrument is like a voyage through the body. We have several stops, like going up a river with a boat or some shit. We have the source of the energy, which is of course in the abdomen, and what we call the diaphragm, which we will discuss. That's your air supply. You must have energy to produce sound. You have to have an energy force. Piano, it's here, right? Saxophone, it's here. The air comes up through the air column. It has to deal with what goes on here. This is like a bridge or a tunnel. You gotta get from here to here somehow. You can't avoid this. You gotta pay your toll. There's a bill, somebody wants something. What goes on in here has to do with what the larynx, the pharynx, vocal cords, the throat, all this area. That's number 2. Number 3, the air comes through here, it passes through the toll, and now you're on the bridge. And in the bridge is the oral cavity. That's what's going on in here. And that, of course, involves the tongue, position of the tongue. Okay? That's 3. Number 4, the airstream now finally reaches the embouchure area, And we have to deal with now the reed, which of course means the lip, the jaw, the teeth, the cheeks, everything here which I call the embouchure. Everything involved in holding and in producing the vibration to let the reed vibrate. We know we have to vibrate the reed. Sound is disturbance of material. On a drum, it's the head. The piano, it's the string. The trumpet, it's the brass. Here, it's the reed. Reed is what produces the sound. Finally, after 1, 2, 3, 4, it now reaches 5, which is the saxophone. And now you have fingerings. And the fingerings are, well, they help you play, obviously. So, most people, when they play the saxophone, they think the fingers are first, and what goes on here is second. And it's the complete reverse. All right? So let's start with one thing at a time. First of all, you need a good energy supply. The way you are breathing right now, in this room, or if I speak to you in this kind of voice, you're using about 60% of your capacity of air. And you don't need any more to sit in a room, and you don't need any more to order a cappuccino or say hello, because I'm not talking to a big room. But let's say this was a big room, and I had to project my voice to the back of the room. I have to use more power and energy, because I have to throw my voice further. So that means I have to find more energy. You can increase your airstream by around 20% by getting the air to the very bottom of the well, which is down here, and bringing it all up completely. You can never be 100% because then you'd be a sponge, and you're not, we're human. But we can get it up to about 80, 90% of capacity. So this means when I'm talking to you like this, all that's happening is my chest rising and falling. As you're breathing, your chest goes up and down, right? That's the second source of air. The first source of the air is the abdominal area. Now, some people talk and say this is the diaphragm and all that. The diaphragm is one of 30 muscles that moves when you do air, when you inhale and exhale. There's a lot of stuff going on down here you don't want to know about. All right? The diaphragm is important because it happens to separate the abdominal from the rib area. It's in between. It rises and falls according to the air. It rises when I take the air in, it goes down and pushes the air out. You can't feel your diaphragm. You do not know you have a diaphragm. Can you feel your diaphragm now? Doesn't mean anything. So when we use the word diaphragmatic breathing, it's not an accurate word. It's a misconception. It is abdominal breathing. The abdominal area is the stomach area. And the abdominal area is basically, if you put your thumb on your belly button, and you go like a C, it's where the belt line is. It's right around the middle. And it's not just the front, it's the sides and the back also. And that's how we increase the airstream. So, Mr. New York, I'm going to ask you to help me out here.
Okay.
Come on up here. What's your name?
Michael.
Michael. I'm going to do some things, and I'm going to ask Michael to report back to the planet here. What's going on, okay? The first thing I'm going to do is, he's going to put his hand over here. Give me a hand. You on me. Okay. Now, I'm going to breathe through my abdominal area. I'm going to do it 2 different ways. First this way. That's obviously the front expanding. But now, feel this. What do you feel here?
Not a whole lot.
You feel more expansion than this? Compared to this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Of course you have. Because I'm throwing the air into this area. So if I do just this, go up, this is good, no problem. I need more. So I need, put your hands both sides. I need to get the air to go not only in the front, which is the normal place, but to throw the air into the sides and even the back in a way. So what happens is, now you can really feel this if I bend over, because now I'm putting a lot of pressure here, so this has to work. Now,
Oh, yeah.
now it's a lot.
Like a balloon.
Of course, I'm not going to live my life down here. This is not good. I want that feeling when I'm up here. So what's happening is this. I'm looking for extra air to come in, not only in the abdominal area, which is pretty easy. You expand your stomach, you breathe in, you blow out. Everybody cool? Sit, relax, you know? And use this. Try it. Try as best you can. And do a deep, what do you think, deep breath. Bend over as much as you can. Do you feel your sides?
Yeah.
Okay? Now slowly come up and see if you can remember that feeling. It's called body memory. Body memory means when you imprint something on the body, if you do it enough times, not today, it's not going to happen in 10 minutes. But if you do something over and over again, and this is a couple of weeks, if you do something over and over again, what happens is the body starts to respond. This is like a simple athletic. Athletes. What do athletes do? They just do the same thing over and over again, over and over. They do that, and then after a while it becomes natural to the body. Nobody starts out being able to swing a bat or to hit basketball. You learn how to do it. This is exactly the same thing. The body will memorize something if it is imprinted. That's what's called practicing. So what I would urge you to do is every day for the next few days, because I'm going to leave you with specific things to do. It's 10 to 15 minutes of your practice. When you start out for the next few weeks, start out bent over with your hands here. And then slowly rise, because this is too much. Go slow. See how much you can remember the expansion in the front, of course, but in the sides. That's good. Now I'll go up a little bit. Well, it won't be as much, but it'll still be there. And then here. And now, can I do it in the position I'm going to be playing this instrument, which is straight up? By doing this, you've increased your airstream 10 to 15 to 20%. Is that crucial? Yes. Okay? And here's why it's crucial. Listen to the sound I play. I'm going to play two different ways. And you tell me the difference in the sound. First, I'm going to breathe only through the chest area, which is the normal way you do now. Now I'm going to breathe through abdominal breathing. Shallow breath. Shallow?
No microphones.
Light. No, only through here. Especially when I go high in here. And now the second way, full deep breath. You hear a difference? What's the difference if you can in English? Just for me, not for you, for me.
It's a wider sound.
Big sound. It's a fuller sound. It's not volume. It's not louder. It's fuller. It's because there's more air support. This is the main reason for the good breath. There's other reasons, of course. First of all, volume. Obviously, if you play with loud instruments, you need more volume. You know that because saxophone's an acoustic instrument. When we play with guitars, we know about that. And the second thing, of course, the third thing is musical, especially in improvising. I mean, let's say I can really play an 8-bar or 16-bar phrase, like I can maybe tonight. I would hate to have to run out of air, because my genius brilliance came up with an 8-bar line, but I ran out of air. Wouldn't it be terrible if I'm playing it like, you know... I want to kill myself because I ran out of air. Well, in jazz, we don't know how much air we need, do we? Because again, classical guy, when you're playing, those of you who are classical, you know what's coming up. I need a big deep breath. You put 2 commas there, right? We call breath marks. Or you put 1 comma. If you put 3, it's serious business. 3 means take a big deep breath, and that's preparation, and you practice that. But when I'm playing in jazz, I don't know before I play how long the phrase is going to be. So what happens is this, abdominal breathing is a way of being prepared if you need it. So I might not need it. For example, let's say I'm playing like a... I don't need much air for this. B flat, my B flat. I heard that I wanted to push that tone. So did I know before? Maybe a split second before. And the body knows what to do. Everybody with me on this? So the breathing thing is very, very important for volume, length of the line, but most of all, tone color, sound. And especially when you go to that, and especially when you go to that. Because as we go higher up in the range, the sound gets more and more thin. And why does it get thin? Because overtones are mixing and mixing. 440, we're on piano, but you know, 440, A, 880, A, 1760, A, and that means vibrations. And the quicker the vibrations, the more bright the sound. We want to try to cool that out. So I want a sound, a tenor is different, but especially a soprano and alto. Disgusting. Richer sound because I breathe right. Now, does anybody notice when you play? Is anybody going to say, oh, that D natural, he didn't breathe right? I don't think so. But you want to know when you're going to know? Does anybody remember when they first recorded? Their first time recording, as a student, as for fun with your friends, and you went to the back into the booth, you know, the engineer, and they said, okay, let's listen. And they put you on isolated. No drums, no piano, no band. Just that sad shit you played. And you heard your sound, and you said, I didn't know. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're not telling the truth. Because as soon as, for me it was when I was 15 years old, and I was recording with my friends. And I went in, and the guy said, would you like to hear your sound? I said, well, yeah, but I thought he meant the way I heard it when I played, just with the piano and the bass and the drums. He said, no, this is you alone. What do you mean me alone? He said, oh, we can just listen to you alone. I mean, I didn't know anything. He said, okay, sure, that'll be great. I can't wait to hear me alone. And then he put it on, and I mean, I was out of tune, the tone was terrible. I heard all that shit. So, who could tell? No one, except you. When you have deep breathing, how that affects, especially the high register. Okay? And here's the exercise that you practice. Besides the thing with the bending over, you do 3-part breathing. This is yoga breathing, hatha yoga. Very simple. We do 1, 2, 3. 3 is the shoulders, which it's not that, it's the feeling of the top lifting. So I'm going to do it now. I'm going to have everybody do it. Watch me. I'll count. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. And now I'll blow like I'm playing. 3, 2, takes care of itself. 1. And now with the 1, I bring my stomach muscles in like a balloon. Squeeze the balloon. So 1. Now, Michael, listen. Tell them what you feel me doing here when I exhale. First you hit the inhale. 1, 2, 3. Very slight. No big deal. Now 3, 2, 1. 3 takes care of itself. 2 takes care of itself. 1.
Still blowing. Todavía está saliendo aire.
Squeeze all the air out. Now, when you play, you're not going to do that when you play. You're not going to stand there and expel all the air. But when you practice, you do that. Now, first of all, just one thing about practicing. The word practice, I don't know the Greek word, what does it mean? It means to do something over and over and over until it becomes instinctive. When you were a baby, you didn't know how to use a spoon or fork, right? You didn't know how to walk. You didn't know how to ride a bike. Did you know how to drive a car? Everything we learn is by doing it over and over and over. In some cases, we'll get faster at it than somebody else. In some cases, we're slower. But eventually, if you do it over and over again, if If you play a C half whole diminished scale long enough, you will not have to think about it. And you know what? You even can play giant steps if you do it enough. That's a little harder than playing a C scale, but it's the same principle. And one of the main principles of practice means exaggeration. Spanish, how do you say exaggeration? Okay, exaggeration means that you do more. You go over. You go past in order to return to the middle. It's like playing fast tempos. You don't play fast. Yeah. You play like this to play like this. You play faster than fast to play fast. Same with a ballad. I play a ballad, I play. Probably would not play that unless you're Shirley Horn, that's slow. But if I can play that slow, that means when I play, that feels easy. So the reason I pull my stomach in and I make the air come out all the way is because I want to feel that I've emptied all the air out of my body into the blowing. Okay? So everybody, you want to stand up where you are? We're gonna count. I'll review. I'm gonna go 1. You're gonna feel your stomach expanding. Don't worry about this today. This would be for later. But for now, stomach. 2, you're gonna feel the chest rise. It's natural, just like you breathe normally. And 3, you feel as if the top of the chest is rising, but you don't. It's not. You're not lifting your arms. It's just a feeling of 1, 2, 3 through the nose, and then blowing out gently. You feel this coming down. No problem. You feel the chest lowering, natural, no problem. But when you get to the stomach, to the diaphragm, to the abdominal area, pull the stomach in as much as you can and see how long you can keep the air going. Exaggerate, okay? So 1, stomach. 2, chest. 3. Now blow like you blow in the saxophone. Everything relaxes. You get down here, pull in, pull the stomach in. Okay, again, 1, good, 2, 3, excellent, now blow out, 3, go down, relax, this, relax here. You gotta relax the stomach, you can't, not like that. Okay, 1, expand, 2, good, 3, okay, blow, like you're blowing. Relax 1, relax 2, pull the stomach, that's better. Excellent, excellent, do it on your own now, it's like hell. Yep. Okay, first time you read about it since you're a baby. Okay, second, now blow out, guys. Do it on your own, do the count on your own. Do good 5 breaths on your own. Okay, you can go soft, feel this. And as slow and as easy as you can. Okay, do 3 more. Concentration, eyes closed. Watch the air, make it a picture, make it a color. It's blue, it's yellow, whatever you like. Okay? Check a few more.
Es normal sentirlo en los músculos del
You doing all right?
in Spanish.
Okay, so like this. Like this. There's a lot more there. Okay? You're doing it. All right.
Dave, is it normal to feel the muscles here?
If you have not done this, you're going to feel all kinds of shit. This is a machine that has not been oiled. Look, when you watch a baby, how old is she? 8. Okay, she's already past the prime. You watch a baby till about 4 or 5 years old, and watch the baby sleep, and it's like this. I mean, it's like, and it's also 100 to 120 in a minute, pulse, because they're, they're building cells and stuff. The body was created to breathe correctly. Yeah. Otherwise, what do we need all this for? I mean, besides for food and digestion, this long column of air. What is it? Why didn't we just start over here? Leave this for food and leave this for breathing, because of this need for full breath. Now, I don't have to tell you. It depends on your training in this area. If anybody's ever done any meditation, Eastern shit, Jap, whatever, Hindu shit, whatever you do, and if you ever done any karate, any kind of martial arts. Martial arts, forget about it. If you're in with a serious teacher, the first, 6 months is about breathing. And when you do karate, you know, it's about throwing a punch. You can't, you know, it's like that, because this has got to accompany the action. So good breathing isn't just for playing a damn saxophone, my friends. It's for your health. It's important for your blood and for everything like that to do good breathing. And if you haven't done it, you probably haven't breathed right since you're about 5 or 6 years old. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. And you don't need it to go run down the block and, you know, see your friends. Although, if you have it, it's great. So what you just did, depending on how you did it, is probably the first time you took a decent breath since you were like 7 years old. So yes, things are going to be a little creaky, and it's going to be a little, and also we get a little, we say lightheaded, a little dizzy, like flute. You know when you play flute the first time, because the air is very, you get a little like this and that. And you know what? When you sit down and say, "Holy mackerel, I didn't realize that I really can breathe this way." So this is very important. All right. Any questions about the breath? That's number one. Any questions? Everything clear? Okay. All right. Now the next thing is what's going on in here. This is the larynx. You can say throat. You can say throat, but we mean the laryngeal area. And in the larynx, there's an area called the voice box. It's not a box, it's an area. And in the voice box, there are the vocal cords. The vocal cords, not chords, but like string chords, C-O-R-D-S. The vocal cords are what vibrate to produce sound. So when I go, there's something going on there. Do I know what's going on? No. Do I hear the result? Yes. So if I go, there's definitely a different situation then. Do I know what it is? Not consciously. This happens below the threshold of feeling. Body responds to what the ear says. The brain says to the ear, and you go, oh, okay, good. It works. Now, for the normal person, again, who does not use their voice or this area for what they do, no problem. Everything's cool. Human voice, no problem. But for singers, actors, sports, and saxophonists, and anybody who plays a wind instrument, we must understand what's going on in here more than just a normal life. All right? And what's going on in here is that the vocal cords are shaped and are changing shape in order to accommodate the sound we hear. So the position of this is going to be different from this. I want everybody put their hands right on the Adam's apple. We're going to sing a major scale. And I want you to tell me what you feel after. Everybody. Da, da, I mean, do you know what is happening? You don't know it's moving left, right. It's enlarging, it's contracting, it's moving this, it's doing all kinds of stuff. And by the way, if you go on the internet, you can find films of what's going on. They got the camera in there and everything. Now you can see when somebody plays a bassoon different than they play a French horn. They can show, you can see the position. They're not going to tell you anything because there's nothing you can do about it because this exists below conscious level. But you can practice it by exercises we're going to look at. You're going to make yourself aware of this by it being used properly. So that's first of all. Next thing that happens is, we'll move on, we'll get back to this in a minute. The next thing is that the airstream goes into the oral cavity. Yeah. This is like a big cave. Like, if you think of it like a cave, and you have the entrance and the exit. The entrance is here, the exit is here. In this cave, there's a big, we say boulder, rock, and that's your tongue. The tongue is a muscle that's just like that. Hanging out. Right now, the tongue does several things. First of all, it goes obviously for taste and salty and sweet and all that stuff, obviously. And that's trained, and that's the way you live and how your habits and blah, blah, blah. The other thing the tongue does is it affects how the airstream goes after it enters the oral cavity. How does it come out? So, for example, if I go, yeah, 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 and I go, and I go, what's the difference in the tongue? Everybody say E. E. Now say ah. Ah. Now say it's ooh. Ooh. For 3 different positions. High, middle, and low. Now the tongue has all this possible because of language. And because Spanish is going to probably have different sounds. You have an R, you have a da. English and speaking Japanese, it's going to be different sounds. But the tongue accommodates what the ear tells it to do. The ear tells you to learn language, which you have to because you're alive. But the ear in this case is going to try to make the airstream as, what's the word, as present as possible, to not block the airstream. So for example, listen to the difference in sound here. I'm going to do two different things with my tongue. This is just for the sake of example. One and two. Any difference? Listen again. One. Two. Of course, with the good breathing. What's the difference? Same as we had before. Full of sound. What am I doing with the first one? The first one, the tongue is pushing against the roof of the oral cavity. Like, we don't have that in our land in the Western world, but in Asia they have it's very common. So that sound is by pushing the tongue up against the roof. Okay, everybody say you hear that? And that's because the tongue is pushing to the top of the oral cavity. Now, if I go, the second one was more as in E. Say E. E. Where is your tongue touching an E? Sides. We say molars, the dental molars. The E is over here. And if I go that's on the floor. Okay. So there are basically three positions: high, middle, and low. There are a lot of gradations in between, but this is basically it. You are going to use all of them to get the sound. But there's one that maximizes the effectiveness of the airstream. Now remember, I already have worked on this airstream. We just did it. I got good source of air. It's coming up. It's ready to pop. And then it comes into this oral cavity, and this big rock is there called the tongue. And it blocks the sound. And what I start with, I don't end up with. That's not good. You want to maximize the potential for the airstream, which now is rich and deep, and that 80% or whatever. You want that to be squashed because of what the tongue does. So the best position is in the middle, and the middle is E. E is exactly right in the middle of the oral cavity. E means lightly touching the sides of the teeth. It's not pushing it, it's the letter E. In the Western world, we have E. E, E, and that's very comfortable. No tonguing. This is not about the tip. This is the back of the tongue first. I'm not talking about the edge of the tongue. This is not about ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. That's not the discussion. This is about what we call in English we say the anchor, the meat, the part of the tongue, the thick part. E. Ah. E. You get the difference? Now, I'm being very dramatic now to show you. I have all kinds of different combinations. It's all available. Now I know if I ask you, depending on the level of your playing, what's going on with your tongue, you would say, I have no idea. I don't know. Now you know. The tongue has a big effect on the airstream's ability to vibrate because you've got this big thing in your mouth. You can't cut your tongue out. There's nothing you can do about your teeth. The teeth are there. You can't move the teeth, I hope. Until you're a little older, will you have to worry about that? You have only the tongue to worry about. And the position of the tongue, high, middle, low, will affect the color of the sound drastically. And again, when you go back into that studio and you hear yourself alone, you'll go, I see what he means. Okay? So far, breathing. Larynx responding to your ear, nothing to do. Tongue moving to maximize the air. Now we are with the fourth part. The fourth part is here. Here's where problems happen. This feeling of having to grab the mouthpiece, right on the mouthpiece, and push up, drop down, and use all kinds of muscles here. This is where we get into trouble. And this is where Joe, my teacher, was. You're way overstressing. You're using all kinds of muscles that are not necessary. If you do this, and this, and this, it will take care of itself. You should be using this only for color and expression. And of course, on saxophone, vibrato is one of the big things we can do. So we know that we can use this for different things. Here's the main idea. This is very important. What is happening on the bottom lip, and what is happening on the bottom teeth and the top teeth? What is the function of the top teeth? What do the top teeth do? What do they do?
Keep your mouth
Oh, that's
open.
not-
Holds the saxophone. It doesn't move. Nothing you could do. You hold the saxophone, and you don't need much pressure to hold the saxophone because you got a strap. That's why we got a strap. All right. So that's all the teeth do, and the upper lip. No, the upper lip has absolutely no use. You could just, in fact, Joe used to play. He would raise his lip and play, and he'd say he could still play. I mean, you didn't need the upper lip. Okay, so the top teeth are holding. The upper lip is just hanging around because it's there.
Didn't he use the double large? Or?
Not up to that. We'll do that. That's a special exaggerated situation, which we'll talk about. But basically, the top teeth are on top, and of course, on top means hopefully not digging in. Okay. When you look at your mouthpiece, what do you see? Even on mine, you see teeth marks. Now, if you see really deep teeth marks, there's two possibilities. Number one, you have very sharp teeth. Possible. That's possible. But number two is you're probably leaning down too much. Now, listen to the difference in sound. When I lean down, number one, it's exaggerated, but number two, listen to the difference in sound. When I talk to you like this, let's say you didn't see me. I was behind the curtain, and I spoke with this position compared to speaking with this position. What's the difference? This one is much more squeezed. It's not as resonant. Well, here I go. Look. I'm going to bite down. Because no pressure. So if you are biting down, you are already putting pressure on the larynx, on the voice box. You don't want to do that. That's why we have a strap. We bring the horn in, straight ahead. Now, if you want to bend when you play, and if you get emotional, it's okay. Do what you want, but not this. And not this. You keep the position. We call this head-shoulder relationship. Straight, just like this. Not like not there, not in the army, but like just straight. And bring the horn to you. See, this is not good, because you know what I'm going to do now. Yeah. So I know. Dig? So you know where this should be according to where you can see. When you just look straight ahead, that's where you should be. Not like this. And of course, this is obviously not. Outside of David Sanborn, you don't know what to get away with. But that's exaggerating. That means something else. So look at the natural position. That's number one. The pressure you need on top is equal to the pressure you need on bottom. And this is a basic law of nature. For every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. And that's Isaac Newton. And that's gravity, baby. That's why we don't fall down and we don't rise up. We have just enough to stay down, not enough to fall up and float, and not enough to go underground. We stay equal. That means equal and opposite reaction. So if I have down and up, equal, because I don't need this either. I want this, equal. No downward pressure. So if you have big teeth marks, I would check yourself out. See if you're overstressing on the down. Okay? So that's number one. What is the function of the bottom lip, which is definitely somewhere on the reed? This is important. What does the bottom lip do? The bottom teeth hold the bottom jaw. We know that. But what does the bottom lip do? Does it have any function at all, or is it just there for dressing on a salad?
To prevent air from being released.
Maybe.
Support. Cushion.
Support is the teeth, the jaw.
Cushion.
What do we mean by cushion?
Reed.
Okay, cushion is number one, and there's another thing. Regulating the vibrations of the reed. Okay, look. It's very simple. Number one, Michael said cushion. What do we mean by cushion? When you go to the piano, we look at a piano, and you see the hammer hitting the string, what's on the hammer? Felt. Felt. Why is it? On a harpsichord, there's no felt. So you get that kind of tingy sound, you know, that pre-Mozart sound, right? But we have the piano, and one of the great inventions of the piano was to put a cushion between the hammer, which is wood, and the string, which is what's vibrating. So instead of ting, we get, piano. So the bottom lip helps to cushion the hard surface of the bottom teeth. And it makes for a rounder, more musical sound. By the way, this is natural, nothing to do. But the second part of the bottom lip, it regulates the amount of vibration of the reed. Okay, here's my bottom lip, here's the reed. When I play a high note, what do I do? This. I'm uncovering the tip of the reed. Think about it. Put your finger in there and play. Think high F. Think high F, and now think low B flat. What's the difference? High F, you're taking more. And what you're really doing is you're slightly opening up the tip of the reed. And why? Because the tip of the reed is where the fastest vibrations are. It's like a piano. The strings, as you go up, they get thinner. They get faster. That's acoustics. Nothing we can do about that. That's acoustics. When I play low, B flat, when I play low, I cover, I muffle, subdue the highs in order for the lows to come forth. Very simple principle. The lip is controlling the amount of reed that's covered. And you're doing it from the first time you played a note. When you played your first low C or B flat, and you played your first high E, D, alto, tenor, it doesn't matter. You naturally moved. Your teacher did not tell you anything. They did not explain what I'm explaining. They just said, here's a high F, here's a low B flat, and just play. And your lip, because your ear told your lip what to do, you naturally did it. So, if it's a natural thing, let's reinforce that. There are two positions that you can have on the lip. What I call thin, like clarinet, and thick, like saxophone. Now this is where the classical and the jazz have a little different opinion. Listen to the difference in sound again between thin lip, I'm exaggerating, I'm not like that, but and thick lip, which means that the bottom lip is really pretty much on the reed pretty well. So thin lip, especially high again. You can see my bottom lip. Huh? Right? You see that? Now look, thick lip. And what I'm doing is high, low, high, low. You don't see it, but that's what I'm doing. I'm rolling in and out. I'm not closing and opening. This is very important. It is not high, low. It's that's like this. I got the reed open. That's open. Here's a little flat. Covered. All covered. That is what the bottom lip does. Everything clear? Okay. In order for the bottom lip to do this, the bottom lip, if it's this thick, what I call thick bottom lip position, enables you to move in and out. Now, how many people play flute? Anybody play flute? All right. When you play flute, do you have a flute here? Flute? Okay, regular flute. Normal flute. Okay, it's okay. When you play flute, how do you get your high notes?
Moving the...
You cover the hole. You make the hole smaller. You go like that. And when you play low notes, you pull back. Exactly the same principle. I'm rolling in and out. And it's much easier to roll in and out with the thicker lip than the thin. Here's the thin lip. I can do it. But it's really awkward. Now, the thick lip. Right there. I got it right here. Now, of course, on soprano it's going to be less, and on baritone it's going to be more, because the mouthpiece and the reed are bigger. That's obvious. but the principle is the same. And by the way, that's one of the difficulties of playing soprano, because it's such a small amount of reed. It's very, it's very, very sensitive. Tenor, I have much more room. Baritone, of course, I have much more room. It gets more difficult as you get to the higher instruments. Now, there's one thing to remember. Now, again, you have 25 people here. I can't go around and check you all out. If you were taking lessons with me, then next week I would say, oh, more lip, let's lip, blah, blah, blah. There's a way to do this that Joe told me. He said, if you say the letter V, everybody say V, like in Victor. V. And I exaggerate. Victor. Okay. Where do your teeth hit your bottom lip? Right in the middle. In the middle of your bottom lip. There's no other way to say V. I don't say V like this. V. And I don't say V. It's your natural bite. Yours is different from yours. Everybody has a different place. We're talking centimeters or millimeters, but it doesn't matter. We're talking about your natural bite, where your teeth go on your bottom lip to say the letter V. F, in other words, F, Frank. When your teeth hit your bottom lip, strike. They are striking in the middle of your lip. Now remember, some people have thicker lips, some people have thinner lip. I can't tell you where it is. I can look at it, but I can't do much for you. Only you can tell where the middle of the bottom lip is. And where is the middle? Middle C. C, C sharp, B. Because that's between this and this. I need a center to be able to go left and right. Center is middle. So V, V. Now I'm going to say V, and I'm going to really say to myself, I'm putting the mouthpiece in, but I'm still make as if I'm saying V. V. See, for me, it's around here. V. V. And what Joe used to do, Alan, my teacher, he would take a pen, and he would say, come here. He would say V. And he'd say V, and then he would mark on your lip. Don't have a problem. A little pen, a little ink will kill you. And he would put this line in, and he would say, I want you to make as if that line is there, but now put the mouthpiece in. So, without drawing a line, imagination. That's my starting position from which I go. Not, for me, this is not it. For me, this is not it. That's too much. So I have my V position. That's how you know to start. That's a given, that's a place to start, in the middle register. Around there, B, C, C sharp, right in the middle of the saxophone. And once you have this position, you gotta do this a couple, I'm gonna show you the exercise to do this, but you gotta do this, and after a couple of weeks, that position starts to hold. Things get different. You might have to change your reed strength. You're gonna have different things happening, mouthpiece, everything's gonna be different if you're doing this, because you're using the natural body movement to do the sound. Because this is not natural. And biting and move, that's not going to do it. That doesn't do it. Yes, sir.
Maybe more soft reed.
Sorry?
The change is the most of the time more softly reads.
Well, soft. You could use a softer reed because now you control the reed better. But again, the thing with reeds, I like reeds that are a little bit hard for resistance. But yes, it would probably end up that you wouldn't need as hard a reed. Because you're now controlling the reed about the vibration. All I'm doing is affecting how much reed moves. That's all I'm doing. More, less, more, less, more, less. More means faster, high, low means covered. That's all it is. Okay? So this V position is very important. Now, here's how we practice these things. And then the overtones, and then you can ask me what you like. If I'm doing everything right, I should be able to make music on this. Well, music means you're going to shatter the eardrums of anybody within 5 kilometers, but that's life. And if you want to get rid of your neighbors, this is how you do it. Or your wife, or your girlfriend. I'm practicing, and when you do what I'm about to do, okay, I'm going to get some, I'll be back. So this has some practical uses. But outside of that, I want to play something musical. Musical means, for the start, a major scale. The most basic thing of all music in the Western world. And I get a major scale on the mouthpiece alone by controlling the vibration of the reed. no fingers. So no fingers means if I'm doing it, it must be happening here, here, and here. This, of course, is here always, but not for this exercise. That's not so important. This is doing what it's supposed to do, like singing, and this is doing what it's supposed to do. Somehow I can get a scale. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm not doing anything. I have no fingers. I have no saxophone, but I'm playing a major scale. A flat major, A major, something like that. This means I have to be doing it right. Because you would not get it. You'd get this. Drops out, or you get... And that's what most of you are going to get when you start. Because you never did this probably. This is very important. This takes 5 minutes a day. You start with this. This is after breathing. By the way, breathing, I didn't give you the way to do the exercise. We'll do that, go back. This is the next thing you do after the breathing. And all we want to do is get at first, I will be very happy if you get from the root to the fifth. That'll be nice, man. And maybe the next week. Maybe the next week. Now, Joe used to say, if you're doing it really well, you should be able to get a 10th. So what does a 10th mean? C to A or A flat. Major or minor third. So let's see how I am. Now I need a new reed because this you need resistance. I'll put on tonight, but let's see if I can do it. So I want to start higher, if I can, to get more distance. Right? So, maybe, I don't know. Oh. So I'm good today, all right? Now, eventually, more than a major scale. I don't know, name a tune. Name a tune. Like,
Giant steps.
ooh.
Chasing the train.
You get my point. I mean, happy birthday, I can do it. You know? All right. The point is that this becomes your friend. This, you want to make it your ally. This is my friend. He is not my enemy. I must control this. And if you control this, remember, the rest is this. That's easy. The breathing we just did, you're cool. You got everything you need. Now, what you want to play, that's a different story. Music, scales, classical jazz, that's not what this discussion is about. This is not about style. This is about playing an instrument in any style with the least amount of effort, the most natural way, so that you can let the rest of your body and mind devote itself to music, not to production of sound. I can't be sitting here thinking about how I'm talking if I have something to say to you, because it'll be too late. It's the same with this, all right? So this is a very important exercise. That's the first exercise. Let me go back to the breathing. What I wanted to do with the breathing was, when you do these deep breaths, it's 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And by the way, of course, after a while, you don't need 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. That's just a way of teaching. You just need the flow, the flow. You do it 10 times, twice a day. Eyes closed, it takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I would say morning and night. You know, but not if you've been drinking, because alcohol, you don't even want to do that. Or late afternoon. When you get to number 9, you get to number 10. All the air. you exaggerate abdominal beat. You would never do that in the real world. Unless you're trying to blow a house down with fire out. So that's the number, that's what you do with number 10. Twice a day, 10 good deep breaths. Watch the air, make it a color, slow, no distractions, no watching television, no phone, just 2 minutes of this. 2 to 3 minutes, all right? Mouthpiece alone, major scale. V position, tongue, E position. And the last exercise is the overtones. And we all know what the overtones are, right? We know what we do is we finger one note and we get another note. And we get that note according to the series, the Overtone Series, which exists in nature. Harmonics, Pythagoras, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to use this Overtone Series for what I want, which means if I can play low B flat and get the first overtone, which would be what?
The octave.
Okay, the octave. Without a change of fingering, that means I must be doing something right. Right? What we just did on the mouthpiece, now we're going to extend a little further. I'm going to use only this to get the note. So I'm playing this, and I want this. Right? How did I get there? I can do it by overblowing? Yeah. Yeah, but not to the second and third one. By the time I get to the second overtone, forget it. I'm hearing it in my ear before I play it, and I'm singing the note. Oh, everybody? Something's happening that gets out the octave. I'm doing something in here that is making the horn do what I want it to do. That's pretty deep. So up and down first. Very slowly, not nice and easy. Very slow and gradual, gradual. Now after D, C sharp doesn't mean anything because it's just the same thing. Now second overtone, which is the fifth.
Yeah.
So I want right? I have to find it. Not, no, not, no. And here we do D. Next, 2 octaves above, B flat to B flat. Now it gets more difficult. Now it really gets difficult. High D from B flat. And finally, the top of it all, F from B flat. E. Next one, F. Etc. If you can do the first overtone and it takes you 3 months, it's fine. This is not a contest of how much or how strong or how fast. It's about how well you do it. Because I want you to feel this moving. Because now when I play, I know what it feels like to play a B flat. So whatever I did here, and now we go to this exercise that I call it matching. Matching? Matching. Hard to match. To copy something.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to play the overtone, the fundamental, low. And by the way, listen to this. Listen to that B flat, man. And listen to this one. And listen to D. Nothing happening. This is very big thing about the overtones. When you're playing the overtones, you're relating everything to the bottom. And the bottom is the only note that sounds good on the saxophone. Everything's covered. When you go up, C sharp, octave key means nothing, and side keys, nothing, 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 nothing. Because look how much vibration I have. This is all you're doing. When you play high F, everything's open. The only thing that's vibrating is from here to here, with a little bit left over. So in a certain way, every note should be B flat, and you have a great life. There's a great story of Sonny Rollins, who's the greatest of all time saxophonist, besides jazz artists. And a friend of mine was in the same hotel in Chicago. They were playing 2 different places. And Sonny called my friend, he said, would you come up to my room? I have 3 Selmer saxophones to try. I would like your opinion. Now when you play, you ask your friends, because you never hear it like you hear it. You play your instrument all your life and you never hear what the other person hears. So you're always saying, man, tell me what this sounds like. What this sounds like. We always do that, I'm sure you know what I mean. But this is Sonny Rollins. This is not you or me. This is, we're mere mortals. This is a God asking you to give your opinion about saxophones. So can you imagine Sonny Rollins asking you to come up and judge, give him an opinion about his sound? I was freaking out, man. Oh, fuck. Going, man. Whoa. So he goes up, and sure enough, he goes to the room, and Sonny in the bed. Sonny's got 3 Selmas, brand new from the factory, which is in Chicago. And he said, okay, man, thanks for coming up. Really a pleasure. Oh, Mr. Rollins, honor. So the guy's waiting, like you, looking to see what he's going to play, right? What's he going to play? So Sonny gets the first tone out, plays low B flat, and low B flat, and low B flat, and low B flat. And he puts the horn down. Okay, number 2. Only B flat, 5 minutes. But all different ways. All kinds of ways. 3rd horn, same shit. 45 minutes of only low B flat. And then saying, well, which one do you like? Oh, Mr. Rollins. Oh, they all sound great. What can you say? But look at the point, though. The point is, if there's any one note that's the heart of the saxophone, it's low B flat. On whatever on. Because it's the only one where everything is equal. Because everything else is openings, tone holes, pads, how open, how closed, how this, how that. If you want your note, man, there it is, and listen to it. That's a very important part of this overtone exercise. When you do it, you're constantly relating to the bottom register. Okay, now, second part is this one, the matching. After you can do fundamental, overtone, fundamental, like I did, you now want to get this into real world use, the practical use of this. What is the practical use? Listen to the difference in the B flat. Let me use B, it's a little easier. Here's my middle B. 100% difference of depth of sound. If I could get a beat, it'd be this. But I'm going to do it with my normal fingering. I'm going to use my imagination, my ear, and I'm going to make whatever adjustments are necessary to get to be as close as possible to and so the exercise goes like this. Fundamental, overtone, first overtone for now, octave. Real, I say real, natural, normal fingering for that note, and go back and forth, maybe 5 or 10 times for that day, until you feel satisfied that your normal B, B flat, C, C sharp, is as close as possible to the overtone B, B flat, C, C sharp. You can't get it to be exact, because look, I am here compared to here, but I can get it pretty close. And after years and years of doing it, this is how you get an even sound throughout the horn. Because you now are controlling everything from the bottom to the top with the same parameters, measurements. Yeah, because you see, if I say top, I don't know what the sound should be. There's so many choices, especially when you get up high. Close. Not close. And by the way, also intonation. Every time I do it, I get a different color. I get a little bit of a shape, like it's like a recipe. I add more salt, take away pepper. I add seasoning. Every time I do something, there's a different shape. The one I'm looking for is the one that's closest to the real fingering. But what I'm really doing is trying a lot of colors out. And this builds your imagination. That's the whole point of this exercise. To become so that when I play, I'll play. A certain color, right? Your choices of color that give you a personality on the instrument. The name of my book is Developing a Personal Saxophone Sound. That's the title of my book. And the reason for that, and by the way, it's in Spanish now, I believe it's Spanish, in Portuguese for sure. The reason for that is because your goal, especially if you want to play jazz, but even in classical, is to have a sound that says it's you, and that sound is you. This is exactly how it is when somebody calls you on the telephone. When somebody calls you on the telephone, you pick up the phone, and you hear in your language, hello, hola, whatever. Let's say English, hello, that's my brother. Hello, my girlfriend. Hello, that's your mother. And not only is it who you know it is, about 10 people in the world from one word, but you even know what the fuck they're thinking. Okay, when your mother calls you and she goes, hello, you think she's happy? I don't think she's happy. I think she's drugged because you haven't been called. Hello, Joey. Well, how about it? You know, that's what we'd say in New York. If I say hello to my daughter, she goes, I didn't get around to calling you. I'm sorry. Okay, not again. Next one. Hello. You okay, Dad? You feel all right? Something wrong? Voice sounds a little funny to me. Or, hello. You need help? You need money? You can tell what somebody's thinking by the way they say hello to you in any language. And that's about 5 to 10 people in the world, maybe some that passed. Because they're your friends and you know their voice and you know what their voice is saying to you. How is that possible? That's without saying, hello, I need money. They just go, hello, and you know they need something. You don't know whether it's money or food or what, but you know something's not right. On the other hand, when somebody goes, hello, oh, you're having a good day, I can tell. Nice, I'm glad. continue to have a nice day, etc., etc. This is the goal of playing an instrument. That's what you want. You want somebody to know it's Mike, it's Joe, it's Deborah, it's whatever. You want somebody to know that. We want to know it's Joe Henderson from the first 3 notes, not what he played, but how he played. We want to know it's Dexter Gordon from the first 3 notes, or it's Liebman, or Levano, or Ravi tonight, for example. And everybody has their own sound, because you have your own sound in your voice. Nobody sounds like you. Nobody can do it. It's like fingerprints. It's completely unique. The problem is how to get that uniqueness of your sound into an instrument, a piece of brass. What the hell is this? It's a piece of brass. It has no life to it. It has no personality. It looks pretty. It doesn't mean anything. A flute doesn't mean anything until you put your sound into it. And how do you find out what your sound is? You can't put it into a formula. It's not like a recipe with cooking. 2/8, 2. You can't do that. You have to do it by finding a voice, by not having anything in the way of finding your voice. If I want to find out my voice, sound, I can't be doing this or any of the things that made my teachers say, you're overworking. You never can play music if you're like that. You're going to always be a nervous maniac idiot because you're trying to work so hard. Yeah, but Joe, he says, no, you're doing too much work. It's natural to play. It's like talking. It's then